there's 4 people sleep in one room. In Karamoja, it is even worse. It is 70% of the households that are sleeping in one room dwelling. So families have one room. That's where they sleep. According to the UBOS report, 7% of Uganda's population is without a toilet facility, still engaged in open defecation. Open defecation in Karamoja is at 60%, according to UBOS. World Health Organization underpins safe disposal of human waste as one of the key measures to reduce diarrhea transmission. Only 4.7 million households had improved sanitation facilities. As many as 6.5 million households are still using firewood. 20 million Ugandans food insecure. The Bureau of Statistics on page 356 of their report notes that 20 million Ugandans are moderately or severely food insecure. This is 4 people in every 10, representing 46% of the entire population. Again, Karamoja is worst hit, with 63% of the population suffering from food insecurity. It is followed by Teso. The chair of the committee is from Teso, the vice is from Karamoja. It is followed by Teso at 50% and Bukedi also at 50%. Also the reason is not very difficult to find. On page 332, UBOS reports that 98% of the country is still relying on rainwater for agriculture production. Irrigation is being undertaken only at 4%. Mind you, 62% of Uganda's population, or 20 million, are engaged and survive on agriculture. There was a proposal last year to buy and roll out 300 tractors to boost agriculture production. Mr. Museveni ordered this parliament to remove money for tractors. It had allocated last year, and you remember who we gave it to, Magora. The amount required for these tractors, 300 billion. The vice chair here was very happy that this is the best budget. You want 300 billion for tractors, they have provided 25. Very good budget. Last year, Parliament had also allocated 60 billion to complete construction of health centers. The list, you still have it. President Museveni forced Parliament to instead allocate this money, as I said, to Magora. He has now restored only 25 billion. You have, they can buy a regional referral hospital. No window, nothing. Almost 95% completed. You can't find money to complete it. And then you come here and say this is the best budget. For you, from Umbari, if it is the best, I thank you. I am finishing. This is the last. Our recommendation is that don't approve the budget until it is structured to deal with the country's socio-economic challenges. The money for workshops, entertainment, travel, fuel, etc. should be reallocated to education, health, agriculture, and roads. You are accosting the Minister of Works here. He doesn't have money, 900 billion to buy fuel for government vehicles, and then they begin moving around as if they are touring the country. The final pages are just staff. I don't have to read them. Staff of our dear president, including cooks, gardeners. But I have also put the staff of Murago Hospital for you to appreciate that the National Referral Hospital operates at 49%. Our view, since the law says that the budget should be passed by 30th of May, is for you to reject this particular budget. We go back and restructure it to deal with those issues that are affecting our people. If you don't, you'll have betrayed them. I want to thank you very much, honourable members, for listening to me, and Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, you've heard the minority and then the major report. Yes, Honourable Silas.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to thank...
And honourable members, I want to remind you, you debated this report when you brought BFP and ministerial statements, and I want you to be sensitive that we must handle this process and finish. I'm giving you just 1 minute.
Right, Honourable Chair, thank you for the 1 minute. I chair the Watch Forum. My concern is about There's so many villages in Uganda without even a single water source. The budget committee needs to provide money for that.
Thank
Two,
you.
we know, today we had a meeting with the Intoroko and the Bundibujo districts. Those areas are prone
Did you take
with
those
the disasters.
issues? Did you take them to the sectoral committee and the budget committee?
Madam Chair, we already talked about them, but I'm emphasizing. So those districts need to be helped with the piped water. They
Thank
don't
you.
have ecos and toilets. And yet when it floods, the area floods, they cannot support themselves with good toilet systems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ik.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My concern with the budget is the allocation that has been given to cattle compensation, which has considered only Teso, Lango, and Acholi. Bukedi, I wanted to ask, Bukedi has not been considered, and these issues lingering around the Bukedi. I'm wondering why they consider only those one, and yet they consider them they have been considering them in other budgets. We expected the other regions also to be included.
Thank you. The presidential pledge on Teso, Lango, and Acholi. Goretti.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I thank the Chair for the main report, but I'm in support of the minority report that we give time for this budget to be restructured. Right Honourable Speaker, my main concern is about domestic arrears. An allocation of 1.4 trillion versus a 15 trillion. And for the Ministry of Works alone, the Ministry of Works has a 1.7 trillion arrears. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg that we revise on the figure of domestic arrears, not to frustrate the private sector. Number two is about the 60 billion allocation to ROCO. Right Honourable Speaker, I request that we refer payment or allocation of that money, because the Auditor General in his report made the recommendation that the PSST should stay any allocation to private companies till when we get a right framework on how to give bailouts to private
Thank
companies.
you.
Right Honourable Speaker, lastly is the issue of about the RDCs. Right Honourable
We will not do reallocation in the House. That's why we had all the time to go to the sector committee, to the budget committee on those issues. But Honourable Minister, take note of what the member is raising. Santa Ole Oduru. After Santa Duru Ole.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable. Right Honourable, I think our problem as a country is cutting the coat, which is so big for our size. Madam Speaker, the budgeting is about the amount of money we expect and how we are going to spend it. Yesterday, the Minister of Works was here, crying for money. And Madam Speaker, I think this is the right time that we have to provide the Ministry of Works with money to work on our roads, because that is the foundation of everything. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of giving money or bailing individuals like Rocco, Penetti, and the rest. Right Honourable Speaker, we are having money, inadequate money for the PDM. Why can't we use this money to address some of these challenges whereby the majority of Ugandans don't have money to expend, and we are giving money to few individuals, Madam Speaker?
Thank you. Honourable members, by the way, I want to invite you people to go and see Luboa Hospital. We are about to open. Yes, Luboa Hospital is almost. I am going to go to Luboa Hospital with the leader of opposition. We are going to visit it. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when we discuss the budget, we don't only discuss the figures, but we also discuss other issues that inform the budget.
Please do.
So for that reason, first, I want to fault the government budget strategy. We are so good at coining terminologies, full monetization. Full monetization supposedly means that when you go, you find people with money, full in their pockets or in their banks or somewhere. But what do you find in Uganda? Full poverty. You say higher income at household level. The budget strategy. What do you find at household level? From the UBOS report, people are more poor. You talk about market access, but we are here crying about people who can't sell their sugarcane, can't sell their tea, can't sell their meat. So the first issue is, are people in government really thinking, or they just go to the dictionaries and pick words and then they give the minister to come and present here? These are the realities we have to check. Secondly, if you are talking about now the strategy itself, agro-industrialization and tourism, I want to fault government for thinking that tourism is national parks, tourism is watching animals. When we apply for visas to visit some of these countries, which visa do they give you? A tourist visa. If there is a place in Uganda that requires support for tourist development, it is Kampala. Because everyone comes to Kampala for a visit. It is the urban centers that we have. So the facilities within the urban centers where people come to see. In Lira, for example, Lira City, we have tourists who come from Agago. We have tourists from Abim who come on a daily basis to visit Lira and they go back. And there are so many tourists who come to Kampala for this visit. So the point I'm raising is we should depart.
What is it? No, let
Thank
him.
you,
Let
the
him
right honourable Speaker.
Honorable Agago, let him
Madam
finish
Speaker,
his.
Madam Speaker, I come from Agago.
Can you, Honorable Duru, can you finish? It's a tourist. We are all tourists. Even me, I'm a tourist in Kampala. Yes, we are all tourists.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I want to pick up the issue, for example, of coffee. We are investing a lot to process our coffee, but if you don't develop the internal capacity, the market, to buy coffee, even to say a developed country, you see with the amount of intake of coffee they do. I've just learned recently that Ethiopia, which is ahead of us, for example, consumes 50% of their coffee production. But for us, we consume less than 10%. So the coffee we make, 90% is for export. So the point I am making is, even when we think of agro-industrialization, we should think whether we have the purchasing power, whether we have developed the capacity to be able to deal with that. The third one, briefly, is about the economic pillars. Unemployment, balance of trade, debt to GDP ratio, our reserves, etc. In Uganda, if a government advertises for a job, people are more attracted to work for the government than for the private sector. I can give the example of lawyers. The amount of lawyers applying to join to be grade 1 magistrates, senior lawyers, shows you that the economy is collapsing. A developing economy, the one growing, as stated by government, is the one that attracts more into the private sector employment.
Thank you. I thought you had finished. Okay.
So lastly, I want to point out that this entire budget is a corruption-led budget. The Honorable Semujo has done good justice in pointing out the areas. When you examine the items proposed to this parliament for financing, and he listed them, donations, corporate social responsibilities, and etc., it's just money we are passing for people to enjoy. I would rather support that these monies are allocated, for example, in education sector. If you go to Kwarikwar sub-county in Bukedea.
Kwarikwar is okay. Don't put it there. We have no problem.
Yeah, just because we
No,
are
we
provided.
don't have a problem.
Because now we are provided for it.
No, we don't have a problem in Kwarikwar.
Okay, let me now mention another one. In
You say
Etek-
in Otuke?
Okay, no, I don't know about Otuke, but in Etek, in Uyudek, we don't have seed secondary schools. So my proposal is we go back and review.
Dr. Yume?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. In 2023, we passed a very good bill called the Uganda Human Organ Donation and Transplant Bill. And I think it's one of the best. And I thank Parliament and His Excellency for assenting to the bill. Right Honourable Speaker, for the last 3 financial years, we have not provided any money for organ transplant. And what we need is 5 billion shillings. I'm sure most members of parliament are called to fundraise for constituents or their beloved ones to take to India and Turkey at $30,000. So the limitation is 5 billion shillings, Right Honorable Speaker. And the 120 Ugandans case backlog who need kidney transplant will be able to get a service. Mulago is ready. Zambia Hospital is ready for liver transplant.
Dr. Rionga, Honorable Nzima.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Also, I would like to appreciate the Chair and the committee for the report. Right Honorable Speaker, in our sector, we have very many uncompleted stalled structures. Some have spent 3 or 4 or 5 years. And some of these contractors, they have put in their monies and they want to sue the government for non-payment. And also, we are going to host AFCON in Hoima. But we have a ward which was demolished with the promise of constructing another one. They got the contractor, and we have 1.15 billion. We requested the committee.
I hope we are not going into constituencies.
This is the regional referral hospital for 8 districts, and we are going to host AFCON. We had requested. We have 1.15 billion.
AFCON has its money. AFCON has its money, and for working on the services around the hospitals, the roads, and whatever. So, Doctor, that one is catered for. It's catered for. Yes. Honorable Nzima.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about one of the items to achieve the budget strategy, which is commercial agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture. I think one of the intentions to commercialize agriculture was to produce on large scale, and this goes with distribution of tractors. Whereas, as my colleagues had said, many times we come up with statements that we are going to do commercial agriculture, but when we look at our actions in terms of allocation to those areas, they did not match with our statements. Our government had, in the last budget, intended to give out tractors per sub-county. But since last year, Feb, what happened was giving only 1 tractor per district. And this one for districts near West Nile, Acholi, and Lango.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam. Let me conclude that statement. This 1 tractor per district were given without the disc plows. For 1 year, they are there. Instead of giving...
The tractor was given without the plows.
Yes, they were giving without disc plows. For 1 year, we have been making noise on this floor of Parliament. And yet here, when it comes to budget, we are saying commercialized agriculture is one of our strategies. But when we come to allocations...
The Minister of Agriculture is here. We will make a follow-up on that.
So my conclusion is that, Madam Speaker, I think that original intention by government to give tractor per sub-county, that should be maintained. And we should move towards achieving that. But when Honorable Semuju was presenting, he said, though the planned figure was supposed to be 300 billion, this is being brought back to, downward to 20 billion. So do we really mean what we speak or what we plan? That's my question to government.
Thank you. The Minister wants to respond to you immediately.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the question of plough has been explained several times here in the House. The supplier supplied tractors less ploughs because they are corrected, and the supplier is due to supply I think early next month.
And you will get your plows and the tractors. Jennifer?
Madam Speaker, thank you. There's climate smart program in Uganda, where 69 districts have been considered, especially the refugee hosting districts of Koboko, Yumbe, and so on. And Marata being a neighbor of these districts, it was considered in the program. And surprisingly, Madam Speaker, Marata has been left out during the identification of the focal point person. And I would like to request that this be addressed, because I wrote to the PS, and since then no reply. I thank you.
Thank you. I want to request you people, let's not look at individual constituencies. It's a national budget. Lob.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Committee of Budget for the report on the proposed annual budget 2025-2026, but particularly the Honorable Semuju for being spot on, and I have nothing useful to add. Apart from, Madam Speaker, reminding the House that in 2022 November, this House approved a World Bank funded project, rural electrification project, called the Electricity Access Scale Up Project 1775. Madam Speaker, it targeted over 1 million connections. As we talk, rural electrification, for those of us who have constituencies in a rural setting, have stalled. Thank you. But in the budget on page 32, we have another good project on Oreo mini hydro power plant. I don't want to downplay the importance of this off-grid power plants. But the truth of the matter is the urgent need that the country, that we have to unlock that amount of money, that whooping 345 billion that is meant for the project, and Uganda, on its part of the bargain, is supposed to merely raise 21 billion for counterpart funding to pay or rather compensate the project affected persons and to acquire the waivers. The budget committee has allocated, or government and finance has allocated 26 billion to Oreo mini hydropower plant. Couldn't you consider reallocating merely 20 billion to unlock, this is an urgent need, to unlock this 345 billion for rural electrification operations to resume? Madam Speaker, I would have loved to proceed, but this is a very important keen observation that I've made in the main report, which is a universal
Lob.
Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate the colleagues that have presented. Even the one who I don't agree with, it is okay to appreciate them. Honorable Speaker, government came up with a strategy called BUBU, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, and it has tried to actualize it. How? By contracting local businesses to do work. But here is the problem, right, Honorable Speaker. Domestic areas, as by the end of financial year 2023-2024, 13.8 trillion shillings. These are businesses that have done work for government, and government just does not want to pay them. These businesses borrow money from banks after they've gotten a contract from government, and so they use that to go to the bank as guarantee, I will pay you your money. And they get bank loans. Government doesn't pay. And these businesses are collapsing. I don't know why. I don't know why government does not prioritize this. You see, part of the challenge is because government, Ministry of Finance, does not even like to consider this as part of debt. The other time we were having an exchange here with Honorable Musasizi, because for him he's convinced this is not part of debt. But you see, if somebody does work for you, you have not paid them 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that is money you owe them. In simple English, that is a debt. So maybe that's why you're not paying it, because you don't think it is a debt, and I don't know why. Honorable Speaker, we are giving free money to many of these companies, free money. Atiak, Day Biopharma, Rocco, Inspire Africa, Coffee Factory, and so on and so forth. But we don't want to pay those who have availed services to government. I don't see how that makes sense. You're giving free money to some companies. You're saying, well, they're about to collapse and so on. But these ones render the service to you as government, and you don't want to pay. We need to reprioritize, honestly speaking. The excuse that we keep hearing, that you see these accounting officers, they overcommit government. The person who has rendered the service is not to blame. You punish your accounting officers who are overcommitting you, but pay the people who have signed contracts with government. That should not be their problem. You cannot tell them, you see, accounting officers are overcommitting government, so we are not going to pay. But whose problem is that? That's why you made them accounting officers. So they operate on your behalf. And so to the other person who is having a contractual obligation with them, for them they've got a good contract. So you punish your accounting officers if they're overstepping their bounds. But can we pay the people that we owe? Honorable Speaker, these companies, the private companies that have been given free money, Atiak Sugar Factory, 563 billion, Day Biopharma, 723 billion, Rocco, 263 billion, Inspire Africa Coffee Factory. In fact, that one, when we went to eat, the proprietor said he did not know the exact figure, which shocked me. Because government has been giving you billions of shillings. We put him to task. He said, I don't have the exact figure. I found that to be odd. Honorable Speaker, the Attorney General, my friend, Senior Counsel Chiriwa Chiwanuka, promised here a couple of days ago that he is going to avail all documentation pertaining to these monies that were given to these companies. Because for some of them, government said we have purchased shares. So we said, where are the share purchasing agreements? For some, of course, when you to do that, there must be a chief government valuation report. The Attorney General promised that he's going to bring those documents here. Where are they? Last year, Right Honorable Speaker, when we were debating the issue of Day Biopharma, you, Right Honorable Speaker, told the House that no, let's pass this money. Afterwards, government will bring the agreement, because our concern was that, number one, there is no agreement. Number two, you've not valued the company. How do you buy shares in a company that you have not valued? And then they came here to us and said, let's pass the money. And we pleaded with you, Right Honorable Speaker, and said, let's not put the cart before the horse. You said, no, the money can be passed. The agreements will be obtained. Where are those agreements? Because we actually objected to that idea. You don't do this first. You don't first avail the money. So what happens if the valuation turns out that actually the company is less valuable than you thought? That's a problem. I hope that the Attorney General can make good the promise that he made. Honorable Speaker, as I begin to wrap up, I'm glad you've talked about Lubowa Hospital and you have promised to go with me.
I'm actually going with you.
Because the last time I went, I was denied access. The last time the Minister of Health, who is supposed to supervise that project, was denied access.
Honorable Lob,
yes, right.
It was dangerous for you because the construction was still at the...
Oh, really?
The debris would fall on you, but now that we are in the final stages, we can go.
Actually, Right Honorable Speaker, it's more dangerous now because they are putting up a shell. The other time there was nothing. So there was no debris going to fall on me and my colleagues. But anyhow, Honorable Speaker, we have injected now 774 billion shillings. into Lubowa Hospital project. You see, as we kept complaining, they began to put up a shell structure. And when you're passing by the road, you can see a structure there. But Right Honorable Speaker, this 774 billion shillings has got to be fully accounted for. I hope that there will be an audit, because that shell structure cannot account for 774 billion shillings. So we need to do a proper audit. I am glad you're saying we are going to pay a visit there. I hope they will not tear gas our speaker. Those people are not easy.
No, they will not.
But importantly, Right Honorable Speaker, we need to order an audit. 774 billion shillings. What has it done thus far? Because that is money that has gone. Each time they come here, they ask for more money. Money for supervision, money for what? Can we have a proper audit of this money? Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, our parliamentary chambers, the new ones being constructed across. Each time there's a contentious issue that like there's going to be in the coming few days, this place will be full. People will be sitting on each other's laps and so on, because of the holding capacity here, which is too small. And so there's been a plan for the last couple of years to build chambers, new chambers there, and offices. Honorable Speaker, it concerns me that Parliament pays plenty of money on an annual basis to rent space, office space for members of Parliament, for staff, in buildings that are neighboring Parliament here. Because there's not enough space here for all the 500 plus MPs and the numerous staff that we have. And yet, ROCO, which has continuously been given free money, in addition to that it is paid for the work that it ought to be doing, has not delivered. Why are we paying money to landlords neighboring us for office space, and yet that problem could have been sorted if these new chambers were completed? Honorable Speaker, I think it would be good for Parliament to get an update on these chambers, because actually that would be a nugatory expenditure. You are paying landlords and yet you should be occupying your own premises. That is improper. I hope that we can get an update so that we stop spending that money. It should be doing something else, honestly. Thank you.
Honorable Musasisi, as one of the commissioners, I'm going to ask you to give Parliament an update. I am going to ask you to give an update on Tuesday on the parliamentary chambers. So, yes, on Tuesday.
Much obliged,
can
Madam
somebody
Speaker.
first say something, then I come to you. Yes. Honorable Seko, Honorable Goli, and then Honorable Isaac and Honorable Musasisi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The issue I'm raising is known to this Parliament. We have over 200 parishes throughout the country that are not getting the parish development model. And the issue is that the Minister of Local Government had failed to gazette them. We have raised this issue before in the House here. We have written to the Minister of Local Government, and gladly, on the 24th of March, the PSST wrote to the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government, to furnish them with the list of all those parishes so that they consider them in the budget. Can we know from the Minister whether the Ministry of Local Government has complied and whether those parishes have now been catered for in this budget? Thank you. Right.
Is it in the budget? Is it part of the budget? Okay. Honorable Goli.
Thank you very much. Mine basically is on the strategy. I've seen the allocation of the budget fairly satisfactory, particularly related with PDM and all these commercial agriculture-related issues. My only challenge is how is the strategy, particularly the allocation you have given, say, for UDB, have you clearly made it in such a way that the manufacturing sector, which you're supposed to work with, is clearly working with those who are supporting PDM so that it can provide the market and develop it and use that money well? My challenge is money is just allocated, but the strategy has not been made to make the best use of resources, how we allocate them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had also asked for a list of loans from UDB, and we want to know how the loans are performing. And to date, we have not received it, and yet we are giving UDB money. Yes, Isaac. And
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thank the Chair Committee for finally confirming that our elections will take place by providing the 450 billion. Secondly, Madam Speaker.
Some of us would wish elections not to take place.
The Chair has confirmed that it will take place now. The money is available. Madam Speaker, the Committee of Health did actually put in a requisition within its sectoral committee recommendations that the constituencies which had not been allocated ambulances be provided with funds to the Ministry of Health. But to my surprise, this has been omitted. That means that the constituencies will not be able to get the ambulances which were supposed to be provided because
the ambulances have been allocated. All you need to do is to get the schedule of which place is getting an ambulance.
Yes.
Chair, isn't that what you say? The money for ambulances has been given.
Right, Honourable
Some
Speaker.
of them.
Right, Honourable Speaker, it's completely not there.
Honourable Remigio said the ambulances. Remigio said the ambulances had been.
They told us they are working out a project where they will fund the procurement of the ambulances, but it's not there in this budget. So the minister can give more light on that. Thank you.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Let's first correct. What did the Vice say? Vice, you said.
Madam Speaker, the proposal by the Committee of Budget and this House for the procurement of 158 ambulances was rejected. Instead, 25 billion was provided for the upgrade of ongoing construction of the Health Center 3s and Health Center 4s across the country.
In your original statement, you said we are happy they have provided money for ambulances. At least I had. And I was very excited.
Madam Speaker, I beg to be corrected. That is a figure I can say of
Okay,
25 billion for upgrading of health centers, and 0 for ambulances and fuel.
Honourable Musasi.
Right.
Isaac, I thought you had finished. Okay.
Yes, right, Honourable Speaker, I sit on the Health Committee, and I remember vividly that the Minister of Health came and brought that request in. And then lastly, Madam Speaker, of course, I still stand disappointed that Nebi Zombo Road has still not been funded in this budget, despite the 5 years we've been calling for this road. It remains the only border custom that is not tarmacked in Uganda, despite it bringing revenue. The Goli and Padea customs, it has still not been brought. Thank you.
Christine, then Henry.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, in this year that we are going to conclude, we discussed about the creation of the new administrative units in terms of the allocation of money for roads. And the recommendation was that each administrative unit, whether old or new, should be given money independently. But Right Honourable, it was not implemented. I hope now that we are making a new budget and money for roads is being allocated, Ministry of Finance should take note and actually ensure that each administrative unit, whether old or new, gets its own money for proper implementation of the road fund. Thank you.
Henry.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I wish to express my gratitude to colleagues for supporting us in this budget process since September to date. Madam Speaker, arising from this debate, I wish to respond as follows. One, the leader of opposition raises a concern about escalating domestic arrears. Whereas it is true that the domestic arrears stood at 13 trillion as per the Auditor General's report, we offset this. This included the obligation by which we offset, and the balance remained 5.2 trillion. When we remove the budget for this year of 1.4, we remain with 3.8, which we plan to settle in the next 3 years. We have provided 1.4 trillion, yes. This leaves the balance of 3.8 trillion, which we plan to settle in the next 3 years. Madam Speaker, this is over and above the 600 billion which we have provided under Ministry of Works to settle the outstanding certificates. On Rubowa, also from the leader of opposition, what has been released is part of the project cost which was approved by Parliament. There is nothing we are doing in Rubowa, at Rubowa, which is outside the project cost. Madam Speaker, on electricity, I wish to inform the House that the budget under Ministry of Energy is increasing by 115 billion for financial year 2025-2026 compared to this financial year. Madam Speaker, I think these were on parliamentary commission budget. I will respond. No, I will not respond. I will present a report on Tuesday as you have guided, Mr. Speaker. On the ambulances, it is true that in this budget, we have not been able to make a provision. But we are making a project. This is a quite big cost, which we want to. Yesterday, when I appeared before the committee, I was able to explain, and the committee understood. They didn't agree, but they understood our situation, and they cleared me to proceed and look for another source of financing instead of using GOU direct funding. Madam Speaker, I want to pray that Parliament considers our budget estimates so that we are able to continue providing services to the people of Uganda. Rural electrification, I answered. I answered that under Ministry of Energy, we have increased the budget by 115 billion. Out of that, there's a significant portion which is going for rural electrification. Minister of Local Government can answer that. For me, I can only respond to the extent of the coded parishes which are in the system. The rest of the new parishes, I am not competent enough to respond to that.
Honorable Minister, I have just said here that the PSST wrote to the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government, on the 24th of March, asking, because the concern had reached you people in the Ministry of Finance, asking the PS, Minister of Local Government, to furnish Minister of Finance with a list of those parishes that have not been captured, so that the Minister of Finance can factor them in the budget, so that the people begin getting parish
Thank you.
development.
There was an
revolving
issue
fund.
on Attorney General. Yes.
Right Honorable, and to clarify it further, because like I said, the Attorney General promised here to avail those agreements, valuation reports, and so on. But also we have consistently been asking for a clear modus operandi from government on bailouts, so that people get to know this is the channel, this is how I reach out to whoever for a bailout. Because if that does not happen, then it will be friends, relatives, in-laws, outlaws of powerful people in government that get bailout. Because many people, for example, suffered through COVID. Businesses closed, some are still grappling with loan challenges, and so they also would want to benefit from a bailout. Where do they apply? Thank you.
AG.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thought I'd actually send these documents, but I'm going to check and find out what the status is. Actually, I thought I had done that.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, you are finished? Thank you, honorable members. We've listened to everything. I now put a question that the House approves the proposed annual budget for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. Guys have it.
Item 5 on the order paper.
You're going to hurt yourself by making all that noise.
Item 5 on the order paper. Motion that the House resolves itself into a committee of supply for the consideration and approval of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 2025-2026.
Hansard, I want you to capture all the sheets, all the figures for all the votes, and you will be looking at the totals of all those votes. After all, they will be captured. Honorable members, having approved the previous motion, the House will now progress to supply the actual budget. Allocation for each vote pursuant to Rule 158 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. I will now invite the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to move a motion to that effect.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move a motion for the House to resolve itself into a committee of supply to approve the budget estimates for financial year 2025-2026.
Seconded, Juliet, Isaac, Eseno, Honorable Achia, Honorable Polot, Honorable Karamoja Fayas, Honorable Katesh, Honorable Mara, Lanyo, Nekesa, Honorable Afande behind there, Milton, Honorable Masiko, Honorable Mapenduchi, Honorable Tembule, you just by the whole site. Even Honorable Bahat. Honorable members, the Budget Committee presented its report, and the figures therein are the ones we are going to supply. and we've reached a consensus on both sides that we will capture all the figures and we will go by the subtotals. That is our consensus, and then we'll vote the figures, the subtotals, which will be a total of all the votes. Honorable members, I now put a question that the House resolves itself into a committee of supply for consideration and approval of the estimate of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the control nay. The ayes have it.
The Committee of Supply. Recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, votes 001 to 029, vote 132 to 135, vote 137 to 139, vote 141 to 148, vote 150 to 159, vote 163 to 169, central government.
You Stanley, you had something?
Madam Chair, I moved proposals that we reallocate money given to the following items, and I will invite you to put this matter to a vote. The items are travel inland, 976 billion, consultancy 633 billion, special meals and drinks 492 billion, fuel 450 billion, workshops 296, welfare and entertainment 207, vehicle maintenance 171 billion, donation 168 billion, advertising and public relations 166 billion, beddings, clothing and footwear 142 billion, travel abroad 138 billion, vehicle acquisition 96 billion, books, periodicals and newspapers 71 billion, furniture and fittings 54 billion. And the proposal was that this money is reallocated to health, education and roads, especially because, look at Murago, no staffing. So that is my proposal, for which I invite you, Chair, to put the question.
Honourable members, I want to refer you to Article 155(4). At the time before Parliament considers the estimates of revenue and expenditure laid before it, by or on the authority of the President, an appropriate committee of Parliament may discuss and review the estimates and make appropriate recommendation to Parliament. Which committee you're part of? The committee, you did that, and I don't think we should actually go back and do the work of the committee.
Honourable Speaker, I wanted to clarify, especially for the Hansard, because you have said that by consensus on both sides, we have agreed to, maybe you clarify it properly, because to pass the budget,
Okay.
because one, we have a minority report, so we are opposed to the majority report. And by the way, we even produced an alternative budget, a copy of which should have come to your office. So I think the idea is that we are here to vote, and on our end we are ready to vote no. I hope when the nays are loud enough, they will have their day. So the idea is I think the consensus is about we are here.
Our consensus is on the methodology of supply.
But not that
Not the
I am
figures.
conceding
No.
to the budget as
It is
is.
on
I wanted to
method-
clarify that.
A methodology of the supply. That's what we have agreed. Even if you vote no, if you have the nays have it, you will take it.
All right, Honorable Speaker, I have an issue with the guidance you have given to this House. The interpretation would be that the Committee of Budget is superior to Parliament.
No, it's not.
The
It
reason
acts
why,
on behalf
yes,
of Parliament.
Yeah, if a member of Parliament or anybody goes to the committee and the ideas are not accepted, the appellant provision is that they can come to the House and try to persuade the House. If the House agrees, it carries the day. If it rejects, so the Honorable Semuju cannot be completely shut down. His provisions, his suggestions can be subjected to a vote. That would be the...
Honorable
because-
Musasisi, what do you think about his suggestions? About his suggestions, you people, on reallocation. Yes, okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. Right Honorable Chair, we process this budget through a number of steps, and the last stage is consolidation by the Budget Committee. Then we come here for consideration and approval. Madam Chair, if a member is not satisfied with what the committee has recommended, a member has a right to bring his proposal. And once the proposal is brought, the same way we consider bills, a question is put. And if it depends, like in my opinion, I strongly oppose what you have suggested. It is your right to propose, but it's also it is my right to strongly oppose. And Madam Speaker, I propose that a question be put on his proposal.
Madam Chair, before you put a...
Honorable members, we are going to look sharp. We are just going to put a question that we don't even know the figures that we are putting a question on. You get it? We don't know the figures that we are putting on. We don't know where the money is coming from. There must be a debit and credit.
For that clarity, Madam Speaker, Chair, I wish to clarify as follows. If a member is satisfied with a certain vote, a certain allocation in the vote, you mention the vote and the figure you are unsatisfied with. And in this case, he didn't mention, he just generalized the inland, travel abroad. And I want to move that since the member has not been able to
Honorable members,
give us details, I want to move that his proposal
yes,
be rejected.
Katesh.
Right Honourable Members, Right Honourable Speaker and members, we have a risk of falling into Honorable Semuju's trap. Because
no, it doesn't have a trap.
Okay.
Doesn't have a trap.
Okay, I withdraw trap. He has presented a proposal that I have said it. He has presented figures. We do not know the source. He has not cross-referenced where this source of these figures are coming from and votes, and is just proposing that we just reject, because among these figures, for example, is travel inland. I am aware that Honorable Semuju, who is a member of our committee and is a member of other sector committees, travels under this particular
Honorable members,
expenditure.
I am going to put a question. Those in favor of the proposal of Honorable Semuju to reallocate, say aye, and to the contrary, nay. The nays have it. Honorable members, I propose the question. Honorable members, I now propose a question that a total sum of shillings 16 trillion 700. Honorable members, I am reading figures, and being an accountant, I am very careful with the issues of figures. I don't want to miss up on even one single figure. I now propose the question that a total sum of shillings 16 trillion 758 billion 148 million 469,000 be provided for under vote 001 to 029, 132 to 135, 137 to 139, 141 to 148, 150 to 159, 163 to 169. Central government as a recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor, I now put a question. I now put a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 16 trillion 758 billion 148 million 469,000 be provided for under vote 001 to 029, vote 132 to vote 139, vote 137 to vote 139, vote 141 to vote 148, vote 150 to vote 159, vote 163 to vote 169. Central government as recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say and the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, votes 401 to 422, referral hospitals.
I now propose a question that the total sum of shillings 425 billion 483 million 466,000 be provided for under vote 401 to 402, 422 referral hospitals as recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of shillings 425 billion 483 million 466,000 be provided for under vote 401 to 422 referral hospitals as recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say and the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, votes 501 to 538, foreign missions.
I now put a question. I now propose a question that a total sum of shillings 443 billion 410 million 887,000 be provided for under vote 501 to vote 538 missions abroad as a recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of shillings 344 billion 510 million 700,000 be provided for under vote 501 to 538 missions abroad as recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. Ayes have it.
Recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. Local governments, votes 601 to 610, 701 to 731, 801 to 935.
I now propose a question that 805. Local governments as recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of shillings 4,956,988,639,000 be provided for under the votes 601 to 610, 701 to 731, 801 to 935, local governments as recurrent expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Total recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026.
I now propose a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 22 trillion 385 billion. I now propose a question that the total sum of shillings 22 trillion 385 billion 31,461,000 be provided for as a total recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of shillings 22 trillion 385 billion 31,461,000 be provided for as a total recurrent expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Please capture all the figures for all the votes.
Development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. Central government, votes 001 to 023, 110 to 169, 301 to 313, 401 to 402.
I now propose the question that the total sum of shillings 17 trillion 917 billion 878 million 81,000 be provided for under vote 001 to 023, vote 110 to vote 169, vote 301 to vote 313, vote 401 to vote 402 as central government development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that a total sum of 17 trillion 917 billion 878 million 81,000 be provided for votes 001 to 023, vote 110 to vote 169, vote 301 to vote 313, vote 401 to vote 402 as central government development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. Ayes have it.
Development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, votes 403 to 422, referral hospitals.
I now propose a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 20 billion 95,009. I now propose a question that the total a sum of Uganda shillings 20 billion 95 million 943,000 be provided for under vote 403 to 422 referral hospitals as development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 22 billion 95 million 20 billion 95 million 945,000 be provided for under vote 403 to 422 referral hospitals development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. Ayes have it.
Development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, votes 501 to 538, missions abroad.
I now propose a question that total sum of Uganda shillings 55 billion 690,000 be. I now propose the total sum of Uganda shillings 55 billion 690 million be provided for under vote 501 to 539, missions abroad as development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that Uganda shillings 55 billion 690 million be provided for under vote 501 to 538, missions abroad as development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026, local governments, votes 601 to 610, 701 to 731, 801 to 935.
I now put a question that total sum of Uganda shillings 16 billion 616 billion. Omara. I now propose a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 616 billion 717 million 890,000 be provided for under vote 601 to 610, 701 to 731, 801 to 935. Local governments as a development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 616 billion 717 million 890,000 be provided for under vote 601 to 610, vote 701 to 731, vote 801 to 935. Local governments as a development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Total development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026.
I now propose a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 18 trillion 610 billion 381,913,000 be provided for as a total development expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 18,610,381,913,000 be provided for as a total expenditure, a total development expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Statutory expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026.
I now propose a question that the total sum of Uganda shillings 31,381,068,128,000 be provided for as statutory expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 31,381,068,128,000 be provided for as statutory expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Grand total expenditure for the financial year 2025-2026.
I now propose a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 72,376,481,502,000 be provided for as a grand total expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. I now put a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 72,376,481,502,000 be provided for as a grand expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for the resumption of the House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the House resumes and the Committee of Supply reports thereto.
I put a question that the House resumes and the Committee of the Supply reports thereto. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of Supply.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of Supply has considered the proposed annual budget for financial year 2025-2026 and approved it.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of Supply.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report from the Committee of Supply be adopted.
I put a question that the report of the Committee of Supply be adopted by this House. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Minister, honorable members, Budget Committee Chair and Chair, Vice, and all the members and the whole House, the Leader of Opposition, Shadow Justice, Shadow Finance. I want to congratulate all of you and thank you for going through this process and more. And Attorney General, thank you for the legal advice. Forever indebted to you. Speaker's Office, as Speaker's Office, we are grateful that we have gone through this process. Over to you. Over to you.
Right Honorable Speaker and members, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for the guidance. It has been a unique process this year, how we have processed our budget. And I want to thank the Minister and members of the House that we went through a very unique process where we went through the process of harmonization and consultation, especially with the Ministry of Finance. In a special way, I want to thank my colleagues, members of the Budget Committee. Colleagues, thank you for your patience. We know what we went through. Yes, Honorable Uganda raised a number of issues in his minority report. Yes, it is true.
Thank you.
There are
Thank
challenges.
you. Next item.
Yes,
Next
Madam Chair.
item. Next item.
Item 6 on the order paper, Bill second reading, the Appropriation Bill 2025.
Honorable Achi, I was just telling you to greet your people and thank your people. Honorable members, you recall on 27th March, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development tabled an Appropriation Bill 2025. For the first reading, the bill was referred to the Committee of Budget and it's now ready. And pursuant to Article 156 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Rule 159 of the Rules of Procedure, the Minister of Finance is hereby invited to move a motion to the effect.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the appropriations bill, I beg to move that the appropriation bill 2025 be read for the second time.
Seconded. Appropriation bill seconded by Ekanya, by Kavanda. Ekanya. Second reading. I thought you're senior in Parliament. By the whole House, apart from Odura and Lop and the Shadow. By the whole House. Yes.
Madam Speaker, the object of this bill is to provide for authorization of public expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of a sum of 40,749,425,441,000 shillings only to meet the expenditure for financial year ending 30th June 2026 and to appropriate the surprise granted. I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Chair. Honorable members, what we are doing now, we are only basically putting what we have passed into a bill. That is an appropriation bill. And basically that is that. And I will put a question that the appropriation bill 2025 be read the second time. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The Appropriation Bill 2025, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
I put a question that clause 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I put a question that clause 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I put a question that clause 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Schedule.
I put a question that the schedule stands part of the bill. For clarity, the schedule is as per what we have just supplied. Honorable Minister, you move for an insertion of the new schedule. Okay.
Madam Speaker and right all members, I move that the Appropriation Bill 2025 be passed by this House with amendment schedules. That yes, yeah. Yes, the amendments are Schedule A and Schedule B. Madam Speaker, I move that the schedules in the Appropriation Bill 2025 be replaced by Supply Schedule A on recurrent budget estimates as
No, this is the long title. We're talking about this title.
This one. Honorable members, the title, the long title, has also changed to reflect the total amount that has been passed. With the corresponding effect on clause 2.
Madam Chair.
That will be done on drafting.
Madam Chair, I want to propose that the long title of the bill, which states the figure for appropriation, be amended to reflect the figure in the supply schedule.
Thank you. I put a question with a corresponding effect on clause 2.
That one is consequential.
I put a question Proposed by the Minister of Finance. Those in favor say and contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Madam Chair, I beg to move.
Question on the proposal.
The title as amended.
I put a question that the title as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move a motion for resumption of the House and the Committee of the Whole House reports thereto.
I put a question that the House resumes and the Committee of the Whole House reports thereto. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the bill entitled the Appropriation Bill 2025 and passed it with amendments.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report from the Committee of the Whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the report of the Committee of the Whole House be adopted by this House. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Bill's third reading, the Appropriation Bill 2025.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable